All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's Team Kentucky update. Today's update is going to be tough, maybe even a little awkward because it's going to be in two very different parts. But in many ways, it's like what we are all living through right now. The first part is going to be the challenge of today, just like our families are facing challenges of today. That's going to focus on the devastating flooding going on in eastern Kentucky right now. The second part, and we're going to do a transition that'll be a tough transition after the general speaks, but the second part is bright and optimistic. I mean, today we're announcing over $700 million in new investments, over 400 new jobs in the Commonwealth. And so today we're going to need to support those that are living through the unimaginable at the moment. And at the same time, celebrate these companies that are investing in us and creating a brighter future for our families. We all have to do this almost on a daily basis right now, pushing through the challenges of inflation and the continued pandemic and so many more things, while at the same time seeing what's right around the corner. So I know we can do this too. Let me start by mentioning that the challenges of the flooding in eastern Kentucky only continue. Everything from power outages increasing to our first set of confirmed deaths. In a word, this event is devastating. And I do believe it will end up being one of the most significant, deadly floods that we have had in Kentucky in at least a very long time. There are going to be a lot of people out there that need our help. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be displaced. And this is yet another disaster that is going to take some time to rebuild. But I want folks, even though there are folks waiting to be rescued right now, to know is we're going to be there for them today. We're going to talk about the resources that are being brought to bear. But we're going to be there for them once they're safe and once they start thinking about what's next as well. So counties that have issued declarations of states of emergencies, these are just the counties that have done it, and we probably don't have them all here. Perry County, Breathitt County, Clay, Floyd, Letcher, Owsley, Pike. I think the city of Hazard has as well. But my state of emergency that I put into effect this morning is statewide. It allows us to go into counties that may not have declared their own, but it lets us bring additional resources to bear. It is one of the ways that we deploy our National Guard and one of the ways that we are allowed to ask Washington, D.C. for additional help. Now, the toughest update this morning is we have our first set of confirmed deaths. There's a report that we have lost a Perry County native, an 81-year-old woman. And we've had at least two other fatalities just confirmed, one in Perry County and one in Knott County. But let me say that unfortunately, I expect double-digit deaths in this flooding. That's something that we rarely see. It's going to take time as these come in. And as I'm going to talk about in a little bit, we're going to have more rain tonight in some areas. And we're going to need people to take some steps to keep them safe. Otherwise, even the total that we expect could grow. This isn't just a disaster. It is an ongoing natural disaster. We are in the midst of it. And for some places, it's going to continue through tonight. We hope not to continue too far after that, though there are possibilities of rain that continue. Power outages by number in the counties impacted, 25,111. It's anticipated that damage assessment and restoration will continue for several days. Dangerous flooding conditions in inaccessible areas slow the restoration process. So we've got a lot of people that need help that we can't get to at the moment. We will. But we also have different areas that we must reach to turn the power back on that people can't reach. So this is really hard to ask of people going through something like this. But we need a little patience and a little bit of grace because we want to make sure those utility workers are safe doing their job, getting to the places that they need to get to. Kentucky Power has the most customers affected, 22,835. Letcher, Knott, Perry, Pike, Breathitt, Martin, Johnson, Floyd counties all have 1,000 or more customers without power. And if I didn't list any of those counties in the states of emergency, first, they're covered by our overall one. Second, I'm sure that they have issued it. It's just how we get information in to the EOC and report it out. Kentucky Army National Guard, Kentucky National Guard in general. We'll hear from General Lamberton here in a minute, but they have 4 aircraft conducting missions in the affected area. It includes reconnaissance, communication, and hoist operations. And I think the general would tell you, I mean, they see a number of people in Breathitt County alone on the roof. Even we have some people in trees hanging on, waiting for rescue. Those folks are working really hard. Our one limitation is how many aircraft have the hoist capabilities. For that reason, today I reached out to West Virginia's governor, and General Lamberton reached out to their adjutant general. They are sending us 2 aircraft with those capabilities, and we are grateful. Also talked to the White House today and mentioned our needs in that area. And let me say, the FEMA administrator contacted me personally. Had just gotten off a plane, and this was the first information that she wanted to get firsthand. We will have a FEMA response team on the ground by tonight in these areas. We appreciate how quickly they're moving. 2 aircrafts are preparing to lift off from Frankfurt to Louisville to pick up equipment. What they'll be getting are Zodiac boats. These will augment the fish and wildlife boats that are right now conducting rescues. It will give us more capabilities to help folks both today and tomorrow. I've been over there personally with the National Guard, and everybody I'm going to be talking about, they are working hard. They are working fast. They are being as flexible as they can, and they're bringing every resource they have to bear. Kentucky State Police is responding and actively searching for missing people. I will say that the troopers, though, are also directly affected by this flooding. Also challenges in getting to places that people need help. If you have a missing loved one in the counties of Breathitt, Knott, Letcher, or Perry, please don't call 911, but call the KSP Post. This will help us to check in on them. That number is 606-435-6069. And this is because this post covers these counties. But let me say this again, it's important because we want to make sure your loved one is out there and safe. And what we found out in the tornadoes is sometimes we had assumed the worst, but then we got the miracle that we prayed for, and we're able to account for people. So if you are in Breathitt, Knott, Letcher, or Perry, and you can't find a loved one, you believe they're missing, call 606-435-6069. And if it's busy, keep calling. I hate to ask you to do that, but they're getting a lot of calls because of what they do and the amount of damage that is out here. No matter how long it takes you to get through, we need the name of your loved one and that information. So please get that to KSP. A command staging area has been established at the Hazard Armory for emergency personnel only. Public should not travel to the affected areas until emergency personnel gives the all clear. I also want to give a big thank you to our deputy fire chief in Lexington, who is also a part-time general in the National Guard. Through his leadership, we're deploying more boats out of Lexington, Fayette County to help. He's over there in the EOC with everybody. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Knott and Letcher counties have been hit hard. Pike, Martin, and Floyd counties are also sending reports of slides and high waters. Extreme historic levels of flooding has been reported in northern Perry County and southern Breathitt County. Crews are assessing the impacts and are faced with challenges. They got downed trees, they got mudslides, and they've got staff that are flooded themselves that are trying to get to safety, which impacts the number of people that we can have out there. For instance, our Letcher County maintenance facility is flooded, and crews can't even access some of their equipment. Crews are trying to help reopen roads where possible to help emergency responders access areas. So we're sending lots of folks outside of this area into this area. For those that live in the area that are responding right now, please tell those folks thank you, because they are victims just like everybody else in this area. They very well could have lost their home and are out there helping out somebody else who has lost their home. So please think about those folks. We're also seeing widespread water outages. This can occur because of a loss of power, for instance, in Martin County. We think that's going to get up and running. That's a piece of good news. But this can also cause a lot of water breaks. Think about the amount of water moving through the sewer or the pressure that the flood can cause. So the London Oneida area has 300 to 400 customers affected. Manchester Waterworks need the floodwaters to recede in order to work on leaks. At this time, the road to the plant is blocked, and workers had to walk to deal with the muddy water in the lake. A boil water advisory will be issued once they are able to get further information. From Hyde and Leslie County Water District, the northern end of London is affected, but progress is being held up by access again and communication issues. We have very spotty cell service. There are at least two of our major companies, I believe it's both AT&T and Verizon, that we are in direct contact with that are trying to deploy their assets. Remember, they got to be able to get to somewhere safely, though, too, to ultimately deploy that. Boonville Water and Sewer advises around 70 customers are out of water in areas fed by Buffalo Creek and Hoopflery tanks. Outages are due to power outages and leaks, but they're still assessing that situation. Jackson Municipal Waterworks plant is experiencing issues due to flooding at intake. Plant controls possibly damaged due to lighting. Plants operating at decreased capacity. System-wide boil water advisory issued at this time. Operators unable to assess damage due to high water. And then the Whitesburg water system in Letcher County, the river's over their raw water pump control panel. The plant is shut down and cannot be started until the floodwaters drop. They cannot get to the plant safely at this time. They're not aware of any other damage. They will have access using a boat. So let's have one piece of good news. Martin County, I was over at the EOC when their plant went down. We were talking about getting them a generator. Their water should be restored by 1 p.m. Eastern time. I think they've been able to get their power up and back on. So a lot of widespread damage. I think we're going to have a number of deaths, roads completely washed out, homes destroyed, schools flooded, buildings that are, at least in the short term, going to be uninhabitable. So we want to make sure people know where they can go, where we can provide you ultimately a dry place. So anyone who's been displaced, 3 state parks have been open to receive you, even though they are having their own impacts. They're Jenny Riley State Park in Prestonsburg, Pine Mountain State Park in Pineville, and Buckhorn State Park in Buckhorn. Now, each of these counties are also setting up different shelters. We're going to put out a list of those because those are places that are going to need water and cleaning supplies. And later today, and we have this in the notes, we'll be launching a Team Eastern Kentucky Flooding Relief Fund. These families are going to need help, much like our families in Western Kentucky. They are also going through one of the worst disasters of this type that we have seen. So the Department for Medicaid Services is working with our contracted managed care organizations and Meta Impact to ensure members impacted by the Eastern Kentucky flooding will have access to medications. I was also working directly with our Department of Public Health today. They are monitoring and working with senior homes, with nursing homes, to make sure we have plans in place if they have to be evacuated to be able to do it safely. They are also in charge of tracking deaths for this. We have a representative from the Coroners Association that's with us directly in the EOC, feeding us information. Toughest news that I have for today is there is a chance for maybe another 2 to 3 inches tonight and maybe through the weekend. We got light rain now scattered through this afternoon. It looks like most of the rain is going to come overnight, and that can be really dangerous. Right now, and this can change, the predicted area includes McGoffin, Pike, Powell, Wolf, Johnson, Floyd, Martin. It could reach Laurel, Clay, Leslie, listen, they could get a lot. So, folks, if the water is close to your house, if you are in a place that floods regularly or with a lot of rain might flood, the ground is really saturated. If you're in these areas or even close to them, and you can go stay with somebody else tonight, please do. Last night, most likely, we lost people in the middle of the night, maybe even in their sleep. We want you to be safe. And so if you're in these areas and you got family or friends or anybody, you got to go stay in a hotel somewhere throughout the night that you know will be safe, please do it. Again, I already think we're going to have double-digit deaths in this, and I don't want to lose anybody else. And so anybody else out there who's listening, whose family are in these areas, call them, right? Offer to put them up tonight if they can get to you. For those that are in areas that are fine, good. But again, if you think that you're facing danger, please take that action. We care about you, and we know that this is coming. All right, a couple of other tips in dealing with flooding. Watch your step. Floodwaters often hide sharp and dangerous debris like broken glass and metal. Floodwater can also be contaminated with oil, gasoline, and sewage. Second, don't drive through big amounts of standing water, especially in running water, which is what we're seeing right now. We believe we may have had a major truck, maybe even a tractor trailer swept away, that we might have lost 2 people in. We're waiting on confirmation of that. Don't risk that, right? Your life is way too important. Your family is way too important. Wear appropriate protective clothing and gear such as boots, gloves, and safety glasses when moving debris. Remember, with more rain tonight, we can replace stuff. We can't replace you. Stay away from electrical utility equipment after a storm or if it's wet. Report any utility issues to your utility company. Flooded homes are dangerous. Get a professional to check for loose wires, mold, and hidden damage before re-entering. Use generators or other gas-powered machinery only outdoors. I can't tell you how many storms that we have had that everybody is going to make it through, especially ice storms, and then somebody puts a generator in their attached garage or in their house or too close to their house, and we lose them through carbon monoxide poisoning. Let's make sure that that doesn't happen. Again, never drive into a road covered by flowing water. 1 foot of flowing water can sweep a car off a road. 2, an SUV or a pickup. 6 inches of water can knock you off your feet. So don't do it. Don't drown. Respect barricades and posted signage. If you encounter a flooded road, turn around. If you encounter a dark traffic signal, treat it as a 4-way stop. All right, we are really only about 12, 13 hours into when the rain really started pouring down, but we wanted to take an important step. Kentuckians are tough, resilient, good people who look out for one another. And what we saw in response to the tornadoes in Western Kentucky was pure love. We want to make sure we're doing the same for the people of Eastern Kentucky. So today we're giving everyone an opportunity to help our brothers and sisters in Eastern Kentucky by setting up the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund. The website for donations is under construction. We expect to have it up at 4 p.m. today. The URL, when it is ready, will be teamekymfloodrelief.ky.gov. That is Team EKY Flood Relief Fund.ky.gov. Donations can be made through the online portal, and there'll be additional instructions on the website. Again, this will be a fund that will be spent entirely to help the families that are impacted, and it will not just be the immediate relief fund. We already have the Red Cross in our EOC. I called their CEO and talked to them this morning. We'll have other folks like the United Way that are there. When we set up this fund, it's about the next year plus it's going to take to get these families back on their feet. And just like the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund, we will be transparent. We can show you how every dollar is allocated, and all of them have gone to make a difference. The money is not going to be used for administrative costs, though credit card processing fees may apply. I know people are seeing the pictures, seeing the videos, and they are gut-wrenching. They're hard to watch. And I wish I could tell you why we keep getting hit here in Kentucky. I wish I could tell you why areas where people may not have that much continue to get hit and lose everything. I can't give you the why, but I know what we do in response to it. And the answer is everything we can. These are our people. Let's make sure we help them out. All right, I'm going to turn it over to General Lamberton for an update on Guard activities. And then we're going to make that very big transition, and I know it will be big. Talk about some really exciting economic development. We can face our challenges today. We can mourn for those that we have lost. We can be there for those that need our help, while at the same time continuing to build a bright future for Kentucky. General?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. As the governor shared just a little bit ago, this is a rapidly evolving situation. We're tracking more rain that's on the horizon in the impacted area right now. And I share that in particular, what we're striving to do is get ahead of this. So with the governor and I speaking is provide more resources, not just waiting until there's an incident or an event that requires some sort of response to it, but pushing resources to the impacted area that we can be even more responsive than we currently are. The governor had alluded to the aircraft that we've currently got working in the area, but we've got 3 UH-60 Blackhawks who are hoist capable, meaning they are actively engaged with picking up people off of the rooftops, with extracting people from one school system in particular, where folks have been tracked or trapped due to the situation. The governor also alluded to his having been in contact with the West Virginian governor. We've been in contact with the National Guard out of West Virginia. They likewise are providing 2 additional helicopters, also with hoist capability. We've also been in contact with the Adjutant General out of Tennessee. They are also providing helicopters with hoist capability. Is this just meeting to the need that we're tracking right now? No, it's striving it to get ahead of what we anticipate the need. We've got eyes on the impacted area, especially in Breathitt County and around Jackson. What we're striving to do is get greater awareness of the impacted area for all the surrounding counties that again, we can get ahead as far as the resources required with that response. The governor had also made mention, we've got what we call Zodiac boats. This is an inflatable, rigid boat that's often used in swift water response and rescue efforts. The Department of Fish and Wildlife, they've got some of their boats and crews currently engaged with it. We're going to augment their efforts. We're bringing folks down from the air wing that's based out of Louisville right now. And if you look up over you might see that those are going to be airlifted underneath our helicopters. And they're flying down there to enable them to get into the impacted area as quickly as possible, along with the crews that are going to man those boats. So as I just said, we're striving to get as much in the way of resources to the impact area, get ahead of the situation. We do anticipate the response continuing for several days. As the governor also identified, we have additional assets coming in from FEMA. They're going to work in our emergency operations center and augment the folks who are there. So we have not just an all of state government response, but we've got governmental response from our neighboring states, from our brothers and sisters in the adjacent National Guard states, from other organizations that are even beyond the Commonwealth's borders. And once again, I know I'm being redundant, but this is to get ahead of it resource-wise, that we have the capability of addressing whatever the situation on the ground warrants right now, but also being ahead of that situation for the next 24, 48 plus hours. Thanks, sir.
I unintentionally omitted Fish and Wildlife, who are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, they've got as many boats as they have. They're bringing others from other places, working with them directly in the EOC. They're going to rescue a lot of people. All right. now it's making that tough transition. Listen, if you're in one of these areas right now and you tuned in for information, it's okay to turn it off. We're going to talk about some other things. If you're really focused on this, and you should be, it's okay to ultimately stop watching now. But as the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I also have to make sure that while we are being there for our people in an emergency, we're also continuing to build the future. And today, through our Kentucky Development Finance Authority announcements, we approved projects totaling $720 million in private sector investment that are going to create nearly 400 great jobs for our people. And I want to make sure today that we say thank you to those groups that have done that. So first, we have Hydro. I want to start by highlighting this investment in the state's automotive industry. Hydro Aluminum Metals USA. Leaders at Hydro, a producer of recycled aluminum products, have announced they're going to invest $15 million, retaining 56 full-time employees at their Henderson plant. The investment will allow Hydro to both install new equipment to improve the facility's ability to meet specifications within the growing U.S. automotive market, while adding new technology to reduce air emissions and allow them to recycle a broader range of materials. Work on both projects is expected to begin in August and be completed by September of 2024. An exciting aspect of this announcement is their commitment to reducing the company's environmental footprint. So the investment supports the production of recycled low-carbon aluminum, including Hydro Circal, the company's proprietary advanced material, which is made with a minimum of 75% recycled post-consumer aluminum scrap. Once in production, the Henderson facility will produce 2,000 to 4,000 tons of their product annually. This is another exciting example of a Kentucky company implementing innovative technology to make an impact, to ultimately improve their products, to retain their employees, and to serve the evolving automotive market. Now I'd like to bring up Duncan Pitchford, head of product supply and joint venture offtake for the company, and a friend of mine for 15 to 20 years, since we were both younger lawyers, to say a few words. Duncan?
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
So obviously this is a very exciting announcement for us at Hydro, but more important, it's an exciting announcement for Henderson and our team in Henderson. As the governor mentioned, we're making an investment at Henderson that will allow us to produce advanced products to serve the growing automotive market. I know the governor has a high focus on making sure that the battery electric vehicle revolution is a revolution that happens here in the Commonwealth. And what we'll be able to do here is make advanced automotive alloys that are used in the production of those vehicles. When you look at aluminum, it's a pretty unique substance. We see it all around us. But for us at Hydro, it's the aluminum you don't see that's perhaps most exciting. If you've got a car that was built in the last 10 years, the chances are on the front of that car, the bumper, it's made of aluminum. And it's also a pretty good chance that that aluminum came from here in Henderson. So the 2022 Motor Trend Car of the Year and the Truck of the Year both contain aluminum that was made right here in the Commonwealth. So this is an exciting announcement for us, and it's an exciting announcement for our Henderson team. We're very proud at Hydro that we made it through COVID without any layoffs at the Henderson facility. Over half of our team has been there for at least 10 years, and several members of the team have been there since the plant was built back in 1999. At Hydro, we like to say we hire to retire. And by making this investment, we're going to create new opportunities for new Kentuckians, a new generation of Kentuckians to join us at Henderson and be the next generation of folks that are able to retire from that facility at some point in the future. As the governor mentioned, I've known him for several years. I'm a Kentucky native. I actually work in Oslo, Norway now, and I get to do these kinds of projects all around the world. But as a native Kentuckian, this one is quite special. So thank you to Governor, thank you to KEDFA for supporting us with this investment, and we look forward to future investment opportunities at the Henderson facility.
Thanks, Duncan.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you. From Paducah to Oslo with a couple stops in between.
Yes, sir.
We're glad to have you back. Next, we have another great investment in our bourbon industry with Jim Beam's latest expansion. This project will include an incredible $400 million investment that is going to create 50 full-time jobs with an expansion of the Booker No Distillery in Boston, Kentucky. This significant investment by Beam Suntory leadership will help boost production to keep pace with all those people out there that have discovered that bourbon is by far one of the greatest products made throughout the world. And of course, all the real bourbon is made right here in Kentucky. And it's going to position the Nelson County Distillery for further growth in the years ahead. I wasn't sure that bourbon could get any hotter than it has been, but it is. There's approximately 60 spirits facilities directly employing 5,300 people throughout the state. It is a $9 billion signature industry. We've had more than $1 billion of spirits investments just since I became governor, by far a record. They have an annual payroll exceeding $1.23 billion. It's only because companies continue to make investments like Jim Beam. I've really enjoyed getting to know the family, the company, and we appreciate their continued investment in Kentucky. All right, next is a real big one. I want to turn our attention to manufacturing with OI Glass Incorporated and today's announcement in Warren County. OI Glass, the world's largest glass container manufacturer, is going to invest $239 million in a new glass bottle manufacturing facility in Bowling Green. When completed, this operation will create an incredible 140 good-paying jobs for the citizens of Kentucky. The new location will provide the company with a significant increase in production capacity of glass bottles for a variety of consumer beverages with a focus on the premium spirits market. You can see why they'd want to be in Kentucky. The project will be the first of its kind to use a new technology known as Modular Advanced Glass Manufacturing Asset, or MAGMA. The technology increases the overall speed and efficiency in the manufacturing process. Production is expected to begin in mid-2024 with an average hourly wage, get this, of $43 an hour, including benefits. It shows a commitment by OI Glass to our incredible Kentuckians, and knowing that they will have a workforce ready that is committed to them and that we will not let them down. Our state's manufacturing sector continues to grow, currently at nearly 5,000 facilities, employing approximately 250,000 Kentuckians. Companies like OI Glass show the rest of the world how great of a place Kentucky is to manufacture and grow. I want to thank their leadership. And yesterday, I attended an event in Louisville celebrating the grand opening of Purim by Eberspacher's new facility. This new location, and if we have photos, is pretty amazing. It's over 180,000 square feet and allows the company to serve its recently expanded customer base here in the United States. When they applied for 214 jobs. They're now committed to hiring 250 before the end of the year. They've already hired about 40-something as they start ramping up production. I got to meet their first employee, and he and everybody else in that facility are committed to showing this German company, this is an international company that invested in us, that we will not let them down and what we can do. This is one of about 80 German companies located in Kentucky that employ about 14,000 people. It is a neat company. It makes part of diesel motors, primarily the exhaust system. They are a green company, reducing the types of harmful exhausts that come from these vehicles. One of their main customers is Ford, who was there that day. And one of the comments made was not only do they know about Ford's commitment to those two facilities in Louisville, especially the truck facility that they primarily supply, but that giant investment in Hardin County, $5.8 billion, largest investment ever by Ford, was another good sign that Ford is committed to Kentucky, that we are committed to them, and that gives us opportunities to meet, to welcome companies like this. So it was a great time meeting the leadership. They are going to have a wonderful home there in Louisville. They are committed to the community. Pretty exciting. I also want to highlight continued investment in industrial site development in the Commonwealth. Remember, we didn't land that big old Ford project without decades of investment in Glendale. So we have a program, the PDI program, where we invest in sites around the Commonwealth so that every county can have their best version of a Glendale site. So today we're highlighting Berea's Made Road Industrial Park. The state's contributing $500,000, $500,000. It's a grant with a local match from the Berea Industrial Development Authority for a $1 million investment. The commitment is to help establish a 150,000 square foot pre-engineered pad-ready site. Remember when we announced a new pad we'd be installing in Graves County, they were getting calls the next day. This signifies state-of-the-art work on road infrastructure, utility extensions, and tree clearing on a 35-acre parcel in the industrial park. That's all the work that's going on right now to develop this site. It is great news for Madison County as the community looks to prepare for future economic growth and job creation. As we've seen with these announcements, growth-minded companies are looking for good sites. This product development initiative helps with that. Thanks to the General Assembly providing $100 million for counties through this type of program, we're going to be able to do a lot more good work. I'm also happy to share that Kentucky Innovation, the Office of Entrepreneurship within our Cabinet for Economic Development, will be participating in the 20th Annual Lexington Minority Business Expo as a presenting sponsor. The expo is held next week. It brings together minority and women business owners to network, learn about new opportunities, and create growth plans. I'm proud of the work of this group. I'm proud that we are a sponsor of this expo. Building that better Kentucky means we got to make sure that everybody's included and everybody shares in the prosperity. Our economy continues to grow. The future continues to get brighter, even as we face these crushing challenges of the present. Thus far, we've announced $4.77 billion in investments this year, nearly 9,000 new jobs announced. All right, also this week on Monday, special moment to honor a fallen soldier. I had a chance to honor a young hero, U.S. Marine Corporal Jacob Moore, who was taken from his family and his community far too soon. In March, he died in a military aircraft crash during a training exercise in Norway. Jacob graduated from Boyd County High School in 2016, the first class through that new building, enlisted in the U.S. Marines just 2 years later. He was inspired to go into the military by his papa Mike, who I had a chance to meet. At the recommendation of my senior advisor, Rocky Atkins, I dedicated the Corporal Jacob M. Moore U.S. Marine Corps Memorial Highway in Boyd County. This highway on parts of Kentucky 180 and Kentucky 3 will show respect, appreciation. They will show people what an example of a purpose-filled life is like, and hopefully they'll get people to look up who he was. We also did this in honor of his family that has suffered. His mom, Michelle, his dad, Michael, his sister, Hannah. And on the stories that they shared about what a special young man he is only further highlight what a warrior and a true American patriot that Jacob Moore is and now will ensure that nobody ever forgets it. We also delivered a flag that flew over our Capitol on the day that Jacob passed to his family, and the United States flag was presented by legislators to them that day. While we grieve his death, we also celebrate his life, what it means, and how it can inspire us. He was assigned to the 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force at the Marine Corps Air Station in Jacksonville, North Carolina. He received the Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Service Medal, and the Global War on Terrorism Medal. Gospel of John, Jesus says there's no greater love than this, that someone lay down their life for their friends. This was a life filled with faith, of love, of purpose, and of service. And I'm proud we got a road in our Commonwealth named after this individual. May it inspire all of us to live a little bit more like him. And finally, even in the midst of this flooding today, we've got a Team Kentucky All-Star because they're out there working in it right now. It's all of our first responder in these flooded areas. Kentuckians are good, strong people. We are always there for one another. And right now we have people putting themselves in harm's way to help other people. That's emergency management. That's our paramedics, our firefighters, the Kentucky State Police, local police and emergency responders, our National Guard, soon the West Virginia National Guard, the Tennessee National Guard, the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, Emergency Medical Service, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, Kentucky Emergency Management, community support providers. If I didn't list you, listen, if you are out there helping your fellow human being right now, you are a Team Kentucky All-Star. We appreciate you. We love you. We need you. Let's make sure we get as many folks as we can to safety. All right. We'll open it up for questions again. A tough press conference to process given the difficult situation we face.